So with that in mind, the idea of meaningful data, I'm going to turn it over to Nicole, and she's going to walk through some examples of exactly what we're talking about.
Okay, thanks, Len. So what is the right data? How do you find the right data? I'm going to talk a little bit about what it means to look for the right data and how to apply that data in your decision-making process. So the right data, or as I like to call it, the meat, it really has to be about what it is that you're looking to accomplish and what it is that you really want to do with whatever digital media plan you're reaching for. So what is the right data? That's a really good question. And the answer is, it depends. It depends on what you're trying to do. It depends on which digital channel you're trying to reach out in. It depends on what your goal is in that digital channel. Are you trying to get more fans? Are you trying to get more followers? Are you trying to get more visitors? All of those things are important to understanding which data you should be looking at. So before we go down this rabbit hole, I just want to remind everybody that it is data, not data. All right, so let's start with the website redesign. If you're doing a website redesign, I think one of the most important things that you need to really pay attention to are the design and the user experience. So if you're changing your website and you're redesigning it, then you really want to know what works for your users and why they're there in the first place, so that you can improve upon that user experience in the next iteration of your website. So we were working with a company called Teva, and Teva does generic drugs for medications. And their old website, this was their old website, and a lot of the imagery on the website was really designed to speak more to doctors and physicians and pharmacists. So a lot of the images they had on their website had to do with like laboratory, chemistry kind of images. And then, some of their navigation features were really targeted more towards that physician and pharmacist demographic rather than the patient demographic. And when we started looking at the analytics for that website, for the old version of the website, what we saw was that a lot of the traffic was actually going to the patient pages of the website. And we really wanted to gather more information about who the user was and why they were coming to the website before we made any decisions about the website redesign. So we decided to conduct a survey. So the people that were coming to the website, we asked them to fill out a survey, and the survey covered a lot of different areas of information, not only why were they coming there, but what were they hoping to get when they got there, did they find what they needed before they left, those kinds of questions to figure out if the user experience is optimal or if we should change it up when we do the website redesign. So the first thing that we noticed from the survey was that, in fact, the majority of the visitors to the website were what you would consider the end user or the patient, the person who's actually going to be using these generic drugs. Another thing that we found was that when patients came to the website, they were either going directly to the product pages or they were going to the section about the frequently asked questions. And the frequently asked questions covered a lot of topics about why you can trust Teva, or comparing the affinity of the generic drugs to the brand drugs, and talking about why they're safe and why you can trust the company. Another thing that we found was that people who identified themselves as trade partners were actually mostly using the patient pages of the website. And then finally, for this product search bar on the homepage, there were 3 options for how to search for the products. There was search by the Teva name, search by the brand name, or search by the therapeutic category. And what we found was that really not a lot of people were using that search by therapeutic category. So, taking all of that information into account, this is what the website looks like now. So the first thing that you notice probably is that the imagery is a lot different. The imagery is really focused at targeting that end user, that patient who's going to be using the drugs, rather than the chemist or the pharmacist who's going to be making them. Also, the messaging is a lot more engaging and inviting to talk about why you can trust the brand and why Teva products are as good as brand name products. We also eliminated some of the navigation items that people weren't using. So we got rid of the option for the trade partners because they were using the patient pages anyway. And then we got rid of that search feature that looks for the product by therapeutic category because, again, nobody was using that. So it simplifies the look and it makes it look a lot cleaner, and then it amplifies the user experience because people can find what they're looking for a lot easier. And then what we saw after the redesign was that, in fact, it did increase engagement on your website. So the bounce rate was reduced, people were spending more time on the website, and people were looking at more of your content and consuming more of the content. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is SEO. SEO is one of the more difficult things to measure the success of. And that's for several different reasons. One of those reasons is that SEO is a marathon, not a sprint. So you really have to sort of wait to see real results. So you have to be willing to put in that time and that effort and to see the gradual success over time. Another reason that it's kind of difficult is because there's so many things that influence your SEO that it's hard to kind of focus on what really is important. How do I really measure the success? So one of the things that you can measure that a lot of people do measure to determine what your SEO success is are keyword rankings. So we recently started a campaign, an SEO campaign for a company called Bill's Khakis, and they do men's clothing and men's accessories. So what we did is we started tracking the keywords that we wanted to target with the website. And what you can see here in this chart is you can see what their current placement is. That's this number on the left. You can see what their current ranking is within search results within Google. And then also that green number on the right is the number of places it's moved up since we started the SEO campaign. So this is a good way to measure whether or not your website is showing up for those keywords that you think are important for your website. Another way to accurately measure SEO is what you're doing with your search visibility. So what do you look at to know if you're getting more search visibility? The first thing you can look at is if you go into Google Analytics, you can just see how many people are coming through this channel, how many people are coming from organic search. And so from the beginning of the campaign up until now, we've seen a small increase in the number of sessions, but more importantly, we've seen an increase in the number of new users that are coming to the website. And the reason that new users are so important is because the whole point of doing any digital campaigns is to expand your reach and to find new audiences. Another thing that you can look at is how many search queries does my website show up for? So the number of impressions here, what this is telling me is that from when I started the campaign until now, my website is appearing in 20% more search queries. And it's the same kind of idea for the landing pages. So the campaign up to this point, I've seen almost a 25% increase in the number of landing pages that are being indexed for search results. So what that means is that I'm getting more accurate information in front of relevant search queries rather than just sending everybody to my homepage. So to strengthen that point, let's take a closer look at what those landing pages are. So you can look at which pages people are landing on from organic search. Generally speaking, the homepage of your website is always going to be number one. But what we're seeing now is that after 3 months of the campaign, traffic to the homepage from organic search is actually dropping, which is great. Because what that means is that people are finding the other pages of your website instead of going just to your homepage. And that means that those pages on your website are showing up for relevant searches, and people are able to find exactly what they're looking for a lot faster. The last thing I want to talk about is kind of the obvious. If you have a product-based e-commerce platform, then you can always look at the increase in revenue for organic search. So this is also a good indicator that what you're doing is working. And we've seen a 7.5% increase in the revenue for organic search. Okay, so pay-per-click. What do you measure with pay-per-click? PPC is the paid advertising you see in search engines. So if you put in a search query, you kind of have those ads at the top of the search results and the ones on the right rail. So pay-per-click is exactly what it sounds like. You have to pay for every click if somebody clicks on your ad. So pay-per-click is all about conversions. The reason that conversions are so important to PPC is because the more conversions that you get from your ad, the better quality of an ad that it is, and the higher on the page it will land. So that will give you more clicks and more conversions. So conversions are really important. It's important to not only to know your conversion rate, but what kind of conversions are you getting? So one of our clients is Health Partners Plans, and they're a very well-established health plan provider in Philadelphia. But one of their struggles was that they didn't really know, or their customers didn't really know that they also offered Medicare plans. So they put in a lot of effort to sort of separate out that part of the business, and they created a subdomain for their Medicare plans and their Medicare products. And after that subdomain had been established and the content had been optimized, we really didn't see as much traffic as we wanted to. So we really wanted to bring in more traffic, and so we decided to do a pay-per-click campaign. And whenever you set up a pay-per-click campaign, you really want to try a lot of different types of ad text to see what's going to work and what people are really going to click on when they're doing searches for those types of keywords. So in the first couple months, what we found was that this was the ad text that was performing the best. And the reason that it was performing the best is because it was really utilizing that brand recognition and bringing people in based on their knowledge of the Health Partners brand and bringing them to the website. So the landing page for these ads had 4 very basic conversion pathways. So you could schedule a call, schedule a visit, request information, or go to a session, go to an information session. So for 3 of these, there was a form that you actually filled out. So if you wanted to get an information kit, you would fill out a form, and then you would get an information kit in the mail. So after we collected about 2 months of data, we wanted to see, okay, what are the majority of people doing once they get to the landing page? And what we saw was that the people filling out those forms were primarily filling out the form to request an information kit. And because we've been working closely with the client, we know that for their conversions, what they really want to see is they really want to see schedule a phone call or schedule a home visit more than request an information kit. Because with these 2 options, that gives the client, that gives Health Partners a chance to get in contact with their customer, answer questions about, answer any questions they might have, and then establish that brand customer relationship and that trust. So with that first ad that we were running, we took a closer look at how many of those visits were actually going to these 2 conversion pathways. And what we saw was that there was about a 2.03% conversion rate for those 2 conversion pathways, which is already pretty good. Anything that you see that's above 1% in PPC is a good conversion rate. But we wanted to increase that. So what we decided to do is we decided to create what's called an ad extension in Google AdWords. So within the ad itself, rather than sending all of your traffic to a landing page, what you can do is you can create these separate site links that'll go to different pages of your website. So rather than people having to go to the landing page and then convert, we take them directly to the conversion process by putting links directly to these forms within the ad. So this is what that ad looks like. So you still have the same ad text and the same representation, but now you have these 2 links that take you directly to those conversion pathways. So what we saw was In that same period of time, we increased the conversion rate from 2.03 to 3.96, which is almost twice the amount of conversions that you're getting per click. Okay, so for email, there are a ton of things to look at. There's a lot of data around your email sends and your email campaigns. So I think when you're looking at analyzing your email data, you really have to think, well, what's important to me? So one of our clients was doing email campaigns, and we were seeing a lot of success with the emails. We were seeing a lot of return, a lot of revenue, and we were seeing a lot of people come to the website and actually buy products. So as we went through these campaigns and started doing new campaigns, we started thinking, well, these are doing so well, why don't we do more of them? And why don't we increase the number of emails we're sending out, and so that way we can increase our revenue? So over the course of a year, this is kind of what that looks like. So we started sending out more emails, we started pushing new products, we started pushing new kinds of concepts with our emails. But throughout the course of the year, we really didn't see an increase in revenue. So in order to explain that a little bit more, what we did is we looked at, well, okay, what's the open rate for these emails? So as you can see, they're almost inversely related to one another. So even if you have something that's working well and generating a lot of revenue, doing more of it isn't necessarily a good thing. It's not necessarily going to get you more revenue. So one of the reasons that the number of emails sent was increased is because we started doing resend campaigns. And what that means is if you send someone an email and they don't open it, then a few days later you send it to them again. So we really wanted to take a look at, okay, well, what's the effectiveness of these resends? So if you look at these resend emails, first of all, they're really not reaching a very large audience. There's not a lot of people clicking on those emails, even the second time you send them. The resend emails, you can see that there's not as much reach, and bounce rates are a little bit higher, and then also the revenue is a lot lower. So, moving forward, I think we can probably reduce the number of resends that we're doing because they're really not effective and they're not generating enough revenue to merit having that within our email digital campaigns. So another thing to look at is the actual conversions that you're getting from email. So this is in a month period. The reason that I wanted to bring this up is because it's important to understand that not everybody is going to buy directly from an email, but they might click on an email, go to the website, and then wait a couple weeks, and then go back to the website to purchase their product. So there's this chart in Google Analytics that shows you when that happens. So you can see these last click conversions. This is for that month period, but there was actually more conversion, more revenue generated for people who came back to the website later and didn't purchase directly from that email click. All right, so display advertising is, it's a lot more complicated. When you're doing display advertising, what you really want to focus on are the number of actions that you're getting and the cost per action. So the reason that we call them actions is because it's not necessarily a click. Sometimes people will see your ad and then they'll go to a search engine and find your website and get to you that way. So they don't actually click on the ad. But they're going to your website because of the ad. Or sometimes people will hover over your ad for a while so that they can see it animate over and over again. So that's also considered an action. So when you're running display campaigns, you want to know how many actions you're getting and what is the cost per action, because essentially you're paying the same amount for that ad space, but if you're getting fewer actions, that means that the cost per action is going to be higher. So Mack Trucks has a merchandise store, and they wanted to, year over year, they were seeing this kind of lull period in their activity on their merchandise website. So they wanted to try to bring more people in during that lull period, and we recommended doing a display campaign. And for the first part of the campaign, we were running two different ad sets. One ad set focused more on the kind of lifestyle that Mack Truck is famous for and that their fans kind of follow around. And another of the ad sets was focused on products, specifically bringing people to either the t-shirt section, or sometimes we had people going to the hat section of the website. So what we found after the first month of the campaign was that the product-based ads were getting a lot more actions, which knocked down that cost per action. So if you have a lower cost per action, that means you're making a bigger return if somebody actually purchased something on your website. And what we saw was that so after we saw this data, we decided to take the budget that we were using for the second ad set and then just put it all over into the product-based t-shirt ad sets to try to get more people to buy t-shirts. And what we ended up seeing was a 30% increase in the t-shirt revenue for the website for the second half of that campaign. All right, if you're designing a new mobile app, or if you have a mobile app already that people are using, one of the most important metrics to note is how many downloads are you getting? How many people are going to an app store, finding your app, and then downloading it onto their phone or their iPad? So Martin Guitar developed a guitar tuner app, and it was for guitar players to tune their guitar, and it also had some videos about how to take care of your guitar and how to take care of your guitar strings so that you don't have to tune it as much. So they introduced their app into the App Store, and after a while we really weren't seeing enough downloads, and we were noticing that the app really wasn't showing up in relevant searches within the App Store. Or if it was showing up too far down the list, so nobody was really finding it. So what we did is we took a closer look at the app, and we made some recommendations. We made recommendations about, this is what you should name your app, these are the keywords you should target, this is the demographic you should target. The images within the App Store should be updated to include some more information about what the app does. So we made all of these small little tweaks, and then what we saw from 1 month to the next was almost 150% increase in the number of downloads that we were getting for the app. So just all of those little small tweaks and making sure that you're getting your app in front of the right audience can really help to increase the number of downloads you're getting. All right, so for social media, I think the two most important things that you really want to watch for are your reach and your engagement. So the reach for your social media pages is really how many people are you getting in front of? How many people are seeing your page? How many people are seeing your posts? Because if you have a great Facebook page and you're posting all this great content, it doesn't really mean much if nobody's seeing it. Engagement is also a really big part of social media. That's kind of the reason that you're in social media in the first place, is you want people to engage with your brand. You want people to be excited about what you're doing and to share it with other people, to like the page, to repost on their Twitter feed, whatever the case may be. That kind of engagement is what you're really looking for. So we did a Facebook campaign for Aria Health. Aria Health is a network down in Philadelphia, and they have several different campuses. And for one of their campuses, they had just opened a brand new emergency department. And so they wanted us to advertise on Facebook that the emergency department was now open. And so this ad, these are weekly stats. So within a week, it reached just under 2,000 people, which is decent but not great. And of those 2,000 people, 20 of them liked the page and 36 people actually clicked through to the website. So several weeks later, we ran a different campaign. And this campaign was a lot more targeted towards social media. You can tell just by the imagery alone that it's going to be more engaging on social media because it has a picture of a person in it. There's also more information in this graphic so that if somebody likes the page, they know right away what it is they're going to get out of that. So that's really important because now people have a reason to like your page instead of just saying, like our page. So you can see that the reach went from just under 2,000 to almost 5,000. We increased the number of likes. We increased the number of people who clicked through to the website to learn more about ARIA. Another thing that I want to touch on real quick is making the distinction between the number of fans you have and engaged fans. So a couple years ago, when social media was really exploding, everybody said you have to have a Facebook page, you have to have a Twitter page, and people started buying fans and buying likes and buying shares. But that's not what is really important. It's not really important how many fans you have. What's important is how engaged are they with your brand, and how much do they talk about your brand, how much do they share things about your brand with other people. Because when you establish that kind of engagement, that's one of those signals that says, I'm a trusted brand, I'm a trusted product. People like my product and they're talking about it. So that's one of those implications that you have a well-established brand. So for Bill's Khakis, we ran a Facebook campaign, and it was talking about this social media contest that we were doing. And the basis of the contest was to people would send in pictures of their old ratty clothes, and then the contest winner would get a new set of clothes from Bill's Khakis to replace their old ratty clothes. So this was the post talking about that contest. And a fan of Bill's Khakis saw the post and then replied to it. And his reply was, this is a great contest. By the way, I have this pair of Bill's Khakis. They're more than 10 years old. I still wear them every day, and they're still in really good condition, right? So this kind of stuff you can't buy. This is the kind of stuff that you want to see from your fans, talking not only about how great your product is, but also about why people should care. Why do you care about Bill's Khakis? It's because, listen, I've had these pants for 10 years now, and they're still in really great condition. All right, so what is the right data? In order to answer that question, you have to understand your business. You have to understand what's the purpose of your website. Are you there to provide more information? Are you there to sell a product? Are you there to explain why you're better than the competition? You have to understand why that website is there, or why that web application is there, in order to really start answering this question. You also have to know how you measure success. There are lots of different ways to measure success. Is it acquiring new leads? Is it reaching new audiences? Is it getting new email signups? Whatever the case may be, you have to know what it is your goal is with any digital media that you have out there. What kind of lead is valuable to you? There are lots of different kinds of leads you can get with your website. If you run email campaigns, then expanding your email list might be important. If you want to explain more about your product, maybe you have a webinar on your page or on your website, and the goal is to get more people to go to that webinar, or to get more people to watch a video that explains your product. So you have to know which kind of lead is important. Is it a phone call? Is it an email? Is it watching a video? Those are all important things to know. You also have to know what your digital campaigns are about. So if you're running a display campaign for brand awareness, then you're going to be looking at different metrics to analyze than if you're trying to push a product, right? So whatever your campaign is about has a direct effect on what kind of data you're going to want to analyze and look at.
Thank you.